What's up, guys? How's it going? Wednesday Linc. We're here breaking down some news. Thomas already did it, of course, so a lot of you may have already seen this in the live breaking news. As these things normally go, Thomas, usually one of us, maybe both of us, have something planned, and then there's a move that went on. And that's what
Right.
happened, obviously, for the live earlier today. But for those that may not have seen it or just catching up, we'll get into it, of course. Michael Carter, cornerback, coming to the Eagles. There is at least a move. I don't know necessarily where we rank that on the scale of good, great, average, bad, wherever. And I'm sure we'll discuss that with everybody else. But they did make a move at least.
They did make a move, and I actually, I like you said, I went live immediately. And when you go live on a trade like this for a player that a lot of people are not familiar with, I feel like things change as you gather more information, right? You hear
Sure.
more about what he was like in 2023 and 2024 and this past season. And my initial thought was that he's going to be the slot cornerback, and they're going to move Cooper DeJean to the outside. And I know a lot of people immediately were like, yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And it does, and it very well could happen. But then you go back and listen to Vic Fangio 2 days ago, yesterday on Tuesday, say that how important it is to have an elite nickel and how important it is that Cooper DeJean stays at nickel. And they have no plans to move him to the outside. And either he's lying, or you read a couple of reports from insiders saying this is more of a depth move than a starter grab to go ahead and try and push Cooper DeJean to the outside. Now, the truth of the matter is, Josh, we don't know. We don't know what this move technically is. Is he going to be the starting slot and they're going to move Coop? Is he simply a depth piece? Because we've seen Howie Roseman make a move like the Metchie trade a couple of months ago that was simply a depth move at wide receiver in case the worst were to happen. This could very easily be a insurance policy against a Cooper DeJean injury. That's as simple as it could be because it was so darn cheap.
Yeah.
That's not a bad thing. But does it necessarily mean that he's going to be the instant starter next Monday, 2 Mondays from now in Green Bay? I'm not so sure. And that's what I've kind of started to learn from. I did text somebody who covers the Jets, one of my good friends, Jake Asman. He said Michael Carter's a great player. The problem is he's been injured on and off the football field, and they essentially found a cheaper nickel cornerback who took his job. And whenever Michael Carter got back to being healthy, he had already lost his job, that thus became expendable. So I'm more confused by this as the hours have gone by since I went live. And I'm curious your thoughts if you really think they're going to move Coop to the outside or if this is simply an insurance policy against more cornerback injuries.
Yeah, I think I think it's mostly insurance. I think there's maybe a little bit of it that is a hybrid of the two.
Yeah.
But in really small sample size, Thomas, because I think it'd be later in the season, because we've mentioned so many different times how Fangio, it takes a while to get acclimated to the defense. You're not going to just be thrown in there immediately. Even when he is acclimated, Michael Carter, I mean, we could talk about Coop, obviously. He has the versatility like crazy, so he can play outside and to the nickel.
Right.
Michael Carter, if he's on the field, he needs to be your nickel. There's not another place to play him. So I think that you might see it sparingly in some packages, and if the season continues to go along, let's say, for example, I know that all of this is hypotheticals, but that's where we're at for every single trade until we see how it plays out. But it's like, does Jacorian Bennett end up playing better at outside corner? If he does, then I think that Michael Carter is for sure just a depth addition. If he doesn't, and it's like, okay, he's not working out. Adoree Jackson, yeah, he's been okay, but not really getting the job done. Keely Ringo, same thing. It's been a good game or terrible game, very inconsistent. If it keeps up that for a couple weeks after the bye week, it might be the scenario where Vic Fangio goes, look, there's not an outside corner option. As good as Cooper DeJean is in the nickel, and my preference would also be keep Coop in the nickel because he's so good there. If it's terribly bad though for CB2, Vic might not have an option. It may be like, okay, well, this was the trade, the hope in case we have to go there to move this dude to the slot, and maybe Michael Carter ends up being that answer because, like you said too, at the end of the day, it's not a bad trade because of how little assets you had to give up. But prior to this season, the passer rating that Michael Carter was allowing was, I think I saw 83 passer rating, something like that. So it was a good number that he was averaging to allow. This season, it's not been great because it's plus 110. But again, you talk about injuries, the scheme that he's in, all that matters. And it's a silver lining part. Again, we're not asking this guy to come in and be the starter, so I think everybody understands that element. But it's like Joe Douglas drafted him. There's extra insights not only for Howie and having that knowledge, but also Joe Douglas. So I think ultimately it's a move. It's not this blockbuster that anybody was hoping for, obviously. Is it the final move? It doesn't feel like it. It could be. It could be just a really boring trade deadline, and that's another aspect there. But as Anthony DeBona is here, shout out to everybody in the chat, but Anthony DeBona has made the chat. That is one of two moves that he predicted before the trade deadline would end. The other one would be Bradley Chubb. So if he goes 2 for 2, I'm just saying, speculation is that he's got Howie's phone number. If he goes 2 for 2, I think that's solidified it.
Well, and Chubb obviously will not be traded the day before they play a Thursday night game. And so if he is correct about Bradley Chubb, who I think would be the blockbuster move. I've talked about Chubb many times on my show, and I agree with Anthony. The guy has like 4.5 sacks this year. Talk about a trade deadline move for a player who's actually playing well the same season. Doesn't happen very often. It's going to happen because of the Thursday night game. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, probably into Monday. They probably walk Bradley Chubb up to the trade deadline. That way you could maximize your offers that you get, because we know the Cowboys have been calling people for edge rusher. We know the Niners, even though they traded for an edge rusher yesterday, are reportedly still calling people for edge rushers. It's a very saturated market of teams that want a piece of the edge rusher pie, and there's not a lot of names to go around. If Max Crosby's not getting moved, they said today Myles Garrett's not getting moved, which is funny because obviously he wasn't, but people were apparently calling. And then same goes for Trey Hendrickson. Is he still going to be moved, right? So we'll see. I do want to say that Howie Roseman is not infallible, and every Eagle fan who truly understands what Howie Roseman is like understands that he does swing and miss. This almost feels like the trade that should have been the John Metchie trade when they made the Metchie move, because we all scratched our head at the John Metchie trade, and we all tried to be like, kick returner, wide receiver 3, backup in case AJ get, like, it just didn't make sense. Now he essentially rights that wrong and virtually sends no draft. I mean, a 7th, a 6th, whatever, and goes in and gets a cornerback, more of a depth move that actually needed to go ahead and happen versus the Metchie trade that happened preseason, right? So this, to me, is Howie making amends, making sure that, heaven forbid, Cooper DeJean goes down, they at least have a viable nickel option, because right now they don't. And I had people ask me in the live stream, like, what about Mac McWilliams? Vic does not trust Mac McWilliams right now. It's just, it's clear as day, because he... Not like he has these elite cornerbacks ahead of him in terms of Adoree and Keeley and all the others.
Sure.
But he doesn't trust Mac McWilliams, and he does not want a scenario where they're playing the Lions and Mac McWilliams is in the slot covering Amon-Ra St. Brown. So I am fine with this move. The question that we all are now going to be asking, Josh, and you just talked about it, is do they make another, and do they try and make another big splash? And I think they will. I don't see why not, especially with the names that are available. Even a Jalen Phillips would feel big to me, not as big as Chubb, but there is a world where this is it. And if this is it, then I think you got to rest on the idea that they are very pleased to have Nolan Smith and Brandon Graham back after the bye.
Yes. And, you know, that's the big question mark, too, is like if they can come back and have the resurgence or the return to form that they were last season. I mean, certainly Nolan Smith, and even BG back to, you know, before we had the triceps injury, then you don't necessarily need anything. But that's a big if. The one thing that I will say, though, and I've seen it all over Twitter, I've seen it on some of the comments on videos, and I'm sure you've probably seen the same thing. I don't fully understand the take of, bro, if we don't make any trades at the trade deadline, we're not going to compete with the top teams. Like, we may not win it all, right? So I'll give you that. But I've seen some to the extreme of there's no chance. Like, we will have to get so lucky in our playoff seeding and everything else. And it's like, I don't know where that's coming from. Like, sure, the Eagles didn't play their best football, right? And they played some other teams that had injuries. But it goes both ways, and we've seen it across the board. The Eagles still have way more than enough talent. Now, yeah, we're asking for some more from the pass rush.
Right.
Like you said, and we continue, it's like Nolan Smith coming back. BG, you have a little bit of resurgence there. Maybe they make a move. Okay, fine. But even if they don't, Jalix Hunt, it was not so great the early part. The last 2 weeks of the season, he's second in the NFL in pressures. And he finally got his sack. So if he keeps that up, I mean, statistics say he's going to get sacks relatively, if he keeps that up, the numbers, the pressure rates, he's going to average a sack a game for the remainder of the season. Now, I don't know if he can keep the pressure rates on that number, but you're seeing that. Moro Jomo, he's got 4 sacks. He's better than Milton Williams was last year. Yeah. And heck, this is without Jalen Carter being Jalen Carter. Face the facts here. Milton Williams was the beneficiary of Jalen Carter being a game wrecker all year last year. This season, Jomo sometimes, it's JC making some plays, but a lot of games you break down or you go through the film and it's like, that's not Jalen. Like, that's not the Jalen Carter we know. Like, it's not what Jalen Carter could be. He's starting to get there, so that's a good positive sign. I think this bye week will help even more. But you get the guys healthy, Jahad Campbell, the blitzes also have been helpful and they've been working, but I think that you're seeing some adjustments too of Vic Fangio going like, all right, now we're getting a little bit better. We're getting a little bit better. He still said we could be better, but we're making plays in the right direction. And so I think that they do see some of those positives. Question is, like we all continue to ask, is it going to be with the group of the core that you have now, or do they add another player? I do feel like if I had to bet, I feel like they are also going to add someone. I've kind of kept saying Jalen Phillips seems like the most realistic, but one of the Miami ones, watch the Ravens game tomorrow night. Hope that the Ravens just beat them by 40, and it's just like, okay, this is just so bad. The locker room's gone. Mike McDaniel's fired. Everybody else, just take your pick, whoever you want. We'll see. But I think that would certainly start it, at least from that standpoint.
I do think in terms of whether or not they make a move, if it matters in terms of them going to a Super Bowl, obviously I agree with you. This trade deadline does feel different from previous ones, because normally at a trade deadline, it's either one of two categories. Totally irrelevant players who aren't going to move the needle, and you just kind of swap back and forth. You could make the argument Carter's in that. Not that he's irrelevant, but not a big name splash that makes everyone freak out, right? That category. Or there are talks every year of like Myles Garrett or TJ Watt or one of these big names. There's no in the middle. This deadline feels like there's plenty of players somewhere here in the middle who maybe lean more towards the superstar star power like a Bradley Chubb, or who still are viable starters on the outside like a Tyreek Woolen, right? I still think that the difference in this deadline versus the past is the plethora of players we know can be had for the right price, who I do think would be upgrades for Philadelphia, and who wouldn't just be either a short-term rental or a depth piece or a sell the farm superstar move. And that's what you want at the trade deadline, is someone right there in the middle. And that's why I still think and really do hope that Howie makes a move. They just dealt John Metchie, Josh, a depth piece in the bottom of their wide receiver room to go ahead and get a position of need. Why couldn't they put a Dory Jackson or Keely Ringo or Jacorian Bennett on the trade block to upgrade a cornerback? Like, if you're trying to pitch to the Browns Denzel Ward, we'll give you a Dory Jackson. He's a starter caliber. I mean, Dory Jackson's a starter caliber right now. I think he's the best of the three. Keely Ringo has upside. Change of scenery. You can make that argument. Maybe that's what they're trying to do here. Get Carter first, secure the depth, then they can sell off one of the other three to go ahead and get the bigger piece like a Reek Woolen or a Denzel Ward. I don't know. I just would like a move. I will be bummed if they don't make a move, but I'm not going to pretend like it's going to tank their season like we kind of touched on.
Yeah. And we would all love Denzel Ward. If you're going to make a move, it's like, all right, get somebody that we know can go in, be the starter. Yes, he's going to have to learn Fangio's system, but at the same time, it's not like you're getting a borderline player, right? Of like, does that really help? Is that a guy that's going to see the field, or is it just the same old that they've gotten from Jacorian Bennett, Dory Jackson, Keely Ringo?
Yeah.
I will say, too, by the way, and I see some of the comments as well. Shout out to you guys. Make sure to drop a like, as always. Shout out to Darius Cooper, man, because if Darius Cooper is not who he is, then this trade may not happen, right? Because you talk about the John Metchie and the surplus there, and sure, maybe the miss, and he didn't. There were very small instances of him playing and a few throws that he got his way. But if you don't have Darius Cooper there, then it begs the question: is like, okay, where exactly does this move fall? But the fact that you have a guy like Darius Cooper, undrafted free agent, that has clearly become a huge favorite in the building, especially with the offense. I mean, it's like how quickly they couldn't wait. Obviously, it helps with the A.J. Brown hamstring injury, but still, you're not getting a guy back from IR and going immediately, let's get him out there. Like, let's go ahead and play him as quick as we can, unless you feel very strongly. And he made some really good blocks. Obviously, he still needs to get fully acclimated and in tune, which you have Smitty and Goddard and other options there. But just to even have him on that side, it's like, as you're talking about, okay, do we need Metchie? Not necessarily. Can the Jets use him? Do they have another guy that, Joe Douglas obviously thinks very highly of because he drafted him, and a potential depth piece? Why not? Go ahead and make the move. It doesn't hurt you. You can do it.
Let's just be clear on Michael Carter. The Jets gave him a contract extension. They liked him enough to give him a contract extension. And then he got injured, and then they drafted somebody who stole his job. That's all true. But it's not like Philadelphia just signed some random scrub and gave away John Metchie for him. This is a guy the Jets really liked, and Jet people called him MC2. He had a nickname in New York, right? So it tells you
something. You got to be good enough to get a nickname.
He's also 26. He's a young buck, right? So everyone's saying he's, a nothing burger. you can lean that way more so than like, the missing piece. I'm not going to obviously agree to that, but I do think that this is still going to be a solid depth move. And you could look back in late December, in early January, and be like, oh, that's why we got Michael Carter, and it'll make a lot of sense with hindsight being 2020.
Sure, absolutely. We've seen depth guys of
we have 100%.
It may not end up being this case, but I think in the same light of like an Oren Burks, for example. Was Oren Burks ever expected to play? No, but how big of a role did he end up playing? Maybe so. It could be. We may not see Tank Bigsby. That was a total miss by Howie until last week. That was what are you doing? He shouldn't be on kickoffs, obviously, because he's fumbling the ball out of bounds. He can't catch anything. We're having these drives start at the 10-yard line. Offensively, you're not using him at all. So what are we doing? Why did we give away draft pick? Now, after one game, it's amazing how much optics change. And I admitted this. I think that a lot of people have. It's like we were maybe dead wrong. Maybe it was too impatient because now you see it and it's like, oh my gosh, if the running game is going to be like this and you have Tank Bigsby that's running angry like that, oh, look out. Like this is unlocking the other piece of the offense. So
great point.
You never know. I mean, I'm trying to preach patience to myself because I'm like, with this move, I'm not expecting Michael Carter to get out there. It could be 4 weeks before we even see him see the field. And it's like, great point. What happened to Michael Carter? Man, that trade didn't really work out. And then, oh, there you go. There's an injury or just a reason that he has to play. And okay, now it ends up paying off. So I'm with you on the depth. Matt, by the way, I'm getting to these super chats, but Matt, really quickly, it's your wife's birthday, not hanging out, but wife's birthday. Happy birthday to her. One of the OGs. Matt, appreciate you.
Happy birthday, Matt.
With the 5 bomb says, let's go, guys. Howie's alive. Made the move.
He is alive.
Want to come on and say hi and tell you guys keep making greatest episodes. How much do you think Joe Douglas had a hand on this?
Well, we appreciate that first off, and I would say a massive hand. This to me is like, does Joe Douglas have an insight on Jermaine Johnson, the edge rusher from New York as well? Because that would be another.
Hey, now,
fun to see that.
I would like that move. One. Yes.
But Joe Douglas obviously has Howie Roseman's ear. They are very close. Howie thinks the world of him. And he's kind of one of those Howie Roseman, disciples that starts to build the Howie Roseman GM tree. I mean, he's one of the main guys. So clearly, either Howie went to Joe and said, hey, we want to trade for this guy. Give me your thoughts. Or Joe said, hey, you want the scouting report on all the Jet players? How about Michael Carter? Whatever it is, very much so. Joe Douglas played a massive, massive role in this. And it does matter, Josh, because you remember in the offseason, there was a whole article about how teams are scared to trade with Howie Roseman, scared of getting fleeced. It's why he kind of hunts and pecks around certain organizations that trust him. The Browns is one of those organizations. The Jets are certainly another. And the Jaguars are kind of those 3 organizations. He picks from others, of course, but that he really seems to have some sort of, good repertoire with, who don't think that they're going to get hosed by Howie Roseman, and they can make moves back and forth as we've seen throughout the years. And so the Jets made a lot of sense.
Yep. They weren't going to use Fred Johnson. It does. I do get a kick out of it because they weren't going to use Fred Johnson, so we get Fred Johnson back. He's been probably I wouldn't say MVP is probably a little bit of a stretch, but he's been really, really good for when he's on the field. I think somebody, what was it? Oh, the 6th man. That's what it was. The 6th man award is kind of the Fred Johnson. That he's been that way for the offense. So you have Fred Johnson.
He definitely has.
That's one of those. And then Tank Bigsby, as we mentioned, that one felt like, the Jags had to be, thank you, Howie, for giving us these 2 draft picks because he was not going to be here. He's obviously not being used. But now you can look at it and go, well, okay, there's something there. So maybe we'll for both. JR Crit with a 2. This feels like a trade troll here, but a trade for Will Anderson. I guess that's a legit comment. Trade for Will Anderson with the 2,
like the Patriot tackle.
No, I think it's
that's Will Campbell.
Yeah, the Texans. That's not surely
the edge rusher. I wish.
Yeah, well, I'll say yes to that, but
no. Sadly, no.
We're getting to this delayed, so I'm sure there was a follow-up comment to this one.
Probably.
JR, come on, man. We're not playing Madden. If we're forcing trade, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
I would like
Why
to.
not?
I would
Let's go ahead and throw in some other guys, That's great. I'll see if there's a follow-up comment to that. But I am getting to these in order, like I said. Blaze with a 5. Hey, guys, been watching since I was 17, now turned 20.
Wow.
I got certified as a welder and got my own apartment now. Love you guys. Much blessings. Thank you for that, man. Congrats.
Congratulations. There you go. Moving up in the
time.
world. That's what we like to hear. That is the best. That's the best thing you can do from that age, because I was recently that age, even though I'm 29 now. It feels like I was just that age. Is continue to grind and work your way up the ladder, and know that you're not going to get it all at the age of 20. Because I really thought I was going to get it all at the age of 20, and you get humbled a little bit when you think that way. But eventually, you work hard enough, it can work out for you. So,
that does.
Congratulations, already working out for you. That's good to hear.
Big time. Appreciate that, man. That means a lot. There you go. Hungry dogs run faster. So there's the element there. Oh, JR. Okay, JR saying, "Hey, man, wishful thinking. It is wishful.
Well, that is wishful.
It's optimistic.
I'm right there with you.
Absolutely.
I would love it.
Just throw out a bunch of different guys. But Felix with a 5. There's no doubt in my mind we are a major threat to go back to back. We are getting healthy, and the offense is progressing nicely.
For sure. And Mina Kimes had a really great segment on NFL Now or NFL Live or whatever it is on ESPN 2 days ago, where she explained Philadelphia's offense has changed dramatically in the past 2 weeks. We've talked about that on our channels, the under center work, the max protects, the throws across the middle. Adding A.J. Brown to that style of offense and mixing him in with that new look will make this offense even more dangerous than it already is right now. It has dramatically improved the past 2 weeks. I know the A.J. Brown trade stuff is what radio stations like to talk about. We don't talk about it on our shows. We know it's ridiculous. But him coming back after the bye with what Ken Patullo and Zink Sirianni and Jalen Hurts have figured out the past 2 weeks without him, or past week without him, whatever, they're going to get a lot more dangerous on offense. And the running game it did not seem like just a fluke against the New York Giants. I know it's a bad running defense, but Landon Dickerson looked healthy.
Yep.
Brett Toth played his best game. I know he only played in a couple, but that was his best start of his entire life. Mailata blocked a lot better than he had been the first 6 weeks. I totally agree. They are 100% trending upwards, and they're a threat. I mean, I think it's them, and I think it's Detroit, and I think that you make the argument the Packers are there. We'll see. You'll be there in person, obviously, 2 Mondays from now. The Packers have to show me a little bit more on offense, because it feels like Josh Jacobs and then a flip of the coin on what you get with Jordan Love, because those receivers, no one's really emerged as a stud or a superstar. Tucker Kraft is fantastic. We know the defense seems pretty good, but it does feel like Eagles, Detroit. Then there's another tier that's Green Bay, Seattle, and Tampa. And if the Eagles and Detroit are up the top, that means they have a very good chance of being one of the top seeds and obviously host playoff games, win playoff games, and go ahead and make it back-to-back. So we'll see.
Yeah, and the offense being like showing the run, or I guess getting the running game going, but showing some of those differences, I think was the biggest thing for me. It's like if they had a couple breakaway runs, but it's like, yeah, but what are they doing exactly? It's inside zone a lot. There's a couple different tosses to the outside, but there's not a whole lot of changes. Then I think that would be the other part where you could point to it and say it was a fluke, or it was just like, yeah, but you're not going to have more success against, say, a better run defense. Now, it's probably not going to be 10 yards a carry against every single team, so we all understand that. But I think the biggest thing was, man, you're seeing so many different variations that they had not done up to that point. And I don't know if that was we gave credit. Anthony and I both were kind of apologizing to Brett Toth on the stream last night, but it's like, give credit to Brett Toth because he played
100%.
very, very well.
100%.
As much criticism as he's gotten in the past. But I don't know, is that his health compared to where Juergens was and actually being able to move him around more so? The pin pull that they had the action on that side. I think Landon Dickerson, as you were talking about, huge difference. He just was on the move a whole lot more than they had previously. And, sometimes it's amazing what 1 week difference makes, because that's the other side that people go, yeah, but why this? Like, why couldn't they do the I don't know. That's the question we continue to ask ourselves. Why is it taking this long for the running game to get going? But there were just differences, not only the play calling, but the scheming of the blocking. And that to me was the biggest factor, because it's Jeff Stoutland also getting involved. And sure, the sky is the limit. Absolutely. If they're doing this with this team, as you said, adding A.J. Brown, I don't see why they can't beat any NFC team or any team, period.
And we do need to see it multiple weeks. If they lay an egg versus the Packers, we can, we'll throw it in reverse, Terry, and we'll back it on up and be like, oh boy, we're gonna panic now. But if they go into Green Bay and look legit and either lose a very close game against a good football team or win a very close game, or if they blow out the Packers either way, then I think the entire NFL is gonna really be like, okay, all right, well, it's 2024 all over again. We will certainly be singing those praises. And then if they have wins over the Packers, the Chiefs, NFC teams like the Rams and the Bucks, goodness gracious, it's going to be real hard to get them to not be the number 1 overall seed.
Yeah, and they got the best strength of victory, or the second best. I think it's the best, if I'm not mistaken, but the second best strength of victory.
I think it is the best, yeah.
It's not too bad, all things considered, that it was even a rocky situation with the offense. And they got the job done. So Anthony with the 2, appreciate that. Anthony says, Nolan back. If Howie traded for him, we'd be stoked. That is a good viewpoint there, as far as, if you get another edge in a position that.
It's a fair viewpoint, yes. I mean, I see a wide open spot even with Nolan Smith back to add an edge rusher. I really do. I just think that we don't know for sure what they're going to have in Brandon Graham. We don't know. It really could be a nothing burger just because of age and it takes too long to get up to speed. Or it could be Chris Long 2.0, better than Chris Long. There's an argument he could be better than Chris Long in that exact same role. And the fact that we don't know means that you are still relying on just Nolan Smith, who's coming off an injury, who basically has hardly played this year. I know he's played at the beginning of the season, but he was not 100%. Jalen Hunt, who is still a second-year player, very much trending in the right direction, but a second-year player right now, and no one else. I mean, Azeez Ojulari, what are you getting there? I think Patrick Johnson has been very admirable and has earned himself a contract either here or somewhere else, a very small contract, but he's going to get finally some money there being a perennial practice squad guy. But after that, that's it. And they are very bleak in that area. And in heaven forbid if Nolan were to go down or Jalen were to go down, they have nobody after that. And so I really think that even though Nolan does feel like they're getting an addition, they need one more just to fully secure that edge rusher unit to make sure that it's lethal. Because you got to go get Jared Goff. You got to go get Jordan Love. You got to go get Baker Mayfield. You have to go get Sam Darnold. And that's just the NFC stretch. And then you're going to face Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. And you got to go get them as well. And I think Howie Roseman knows and understands that.
Yep. Daniel, I see the comments there of back to, beating Kansas City. They weren't the Kansas City they are now that they were in week 2. It's fair, but we also
Philly wasn't the same.
The same team that we are. It goes both ways. Like I understand some teams, they had injuries, and you could argue, was it a more impactful injury than another team's and everything. I mean, I don't know. Like the Eagles didn't have Goddard. He didn't play there. The offense
Very true.
was, I don't know what the offense was. It wasn't anything good. But they still won, right? So they beat them. I don't know.
They did.
I don't like that argument. Tyler with the 25 bomb. Let's go.
Whoa.
Congrats on the baby incoming, Thomas. Been a fan
Thank you.
since your Chat Sports days. Here's some diaper money. And if you're ever in SoCal for a game, let me know. We'll cheer to the birds. Go Birds.
There you go. Well, I appreciate that. I've been to SoCal once in my life, and it was recently for a wedding, and it's very cool, very fun. It'd be fun to go to SoFi Stadium, but I appreciate that. Yes, for those who aren't aware, I think I've said it enough on my shows, but the odds of me being on a Wednesday Linc next week are probably negative 50 because I will have a 2-day-old baby and probably will look like a zombie. So, this will be the last Wednesday Linc. Probably the next one, though. I think we'll figure it out. But Monday morning, 9 a.m., that's when the baby comes. So we are getting ready for it, very excited. And it kind of feels like you're in a limbo stage because I feel like I have all these things to do, but I really have nothing to do because everything's done. And it's like, well, we just wait and hope she doesn't come early because that would not be good. We want her to come right when she's supposed to as, some things are going on. But we appreciate all the thoughts and prayers in the comments. I do appreciate that. So thanks, guys.
Big time. Right around the corner. Here for you. It's wild. I mean, we're literally like...
it is wild. Days.
Is it hitting you like at all? Is it like
no?
I
mean, it has, but it feels like business as usual. I mean, I'm just doing my same usual daily routine. I think it's going to hit me when we get in the car on Monday morning to get there at 7 a.m. for our 9 a.m. event, and then it's going to hit me when I start dressing up in the gown and off we go. So that's when it's going to hit me. And then afterwards, when I'm sitting there with a baby, it's going to be like, okay. And then whenever the Eagles make a massive trade during the trade deadline and I'm in the hospital, I'll be like, oh my gosh, like this is crazy. So there's going to be a lot going on. So
lots of emotions. Yes.
Yeah. Lots of emotions.
I remember that was, I think for me, it didn't hit until, I think maybe the contractions on the day of, because it's like you could tell that things had changed. It was like, this is like we're actually gonna have a baby here. But that's fun though. You get the scheduled thing there. You show up. But yeah, we're praying for you guys.
Crazy. We appreciate it.
That is exciting. Let's see. I've got Christian. Yes, Christian here with the 20 bomb. Here we go. Says, correct me if I'm wrong. Eagles released Nickerson to bring Bennett back. To get BG and Nolan back on the roster. Don't they need to release 2 players Dylan, and who else? If another trade happens, Adoree Jackson or Patrick Johnson are gone? Question mark.
Yeah, I talked about this on yesterday's show. So essentially, we forget that BG and Nolan Smith are not taking up roster spots right now. And Philadelphia's maxed the roster in their absence. So to get BG and Nolan back, they got to cut 2 players. And obviously, getting rid of Perry Nickerson, signing back to the practice squad, that's for Jacorian Bennett. It could be for either of the 3, but it's basically for Jacorian Bennett. So yeah, 2 more cuts. I mentioned A.J. Dillon just because it's, Tank Bigsby, and they like Will Shipley. I think A.J. Dillon makes a ton of sense. I don't know who the other one is going to be. I haven't really done a deep enough dive to kind of figure out who the 53rd best player on the roster is. But then you are correct. If they do make 2 more cuts, because they have to get BG and Nolan back, and then they make a trade, unless they then send a player with that trade like they did today with John Metchie and Michael Carter, then they will have to make a 3rd cut. So, yes. And whoever they cut, they're probably going to bring back to the practice squad. They're not going to let A.J. Dillon just right off into the sunset with all this playbook knowledge. He'll clearly come back as a practice squad insurance player, and likewise will be the same for the other 2 people.
Right. Yeah, and they'll, like you say, they're going to take care of those guys. A lot of roster shuffling, like how he typically does for the practice squad, where it's like, hey, they're here, and then they're cut the next day, and then they're back, and then it's just a nice way to keep a paycheck, a steady paycheck going to those guys, and maximize the full roster capability. So, we'll see. There's definitely moves to come, but maybe more minor moves with roster shuffling. Could be a big one if they make a big trade, of course. More Cazador with a 5. My crackpot trade for the night, Nick Herbig. Young, 4.5 sacks on the season, already on only 40% of total snaps, not getting used at all in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, Nate Herbig, right? It's not Nick, isn't it Nate Herbig?
I think it's Nate, but the super chat here is Nick.
Yes,
but it is Nate.
No, wait a second.
Is it Nick?
Wait a second. It is Nick Herbig. Sorry, Nate Herbig is also a Steeler. That's the former Eagle offensive lineman. That's why I thought
that's
that.
right.
Nick
okay,
Herbig.
Yeah.
Yes.
He
The problem is that I think he's played very well with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I don't know if they want to actually get rid of him. And they already have 2 good edge rushers ahead of him, obviously in Highsmith and T.J. Watt. But I would be shocked if Pittsburgh wants to sell, especially because they need defensive players right now because that defense is awful. And selling more defensive players would be shocking. And Philadelphia doesn't have anything but draft picks. Like, they wouldn't want Keely Ringo because they have Darius Slay and Joey Porter Jr., and they also have Jalen Ramsey, but they all stink. So I would not mind it. But yes, Nate is the older brother who retired, says Moore. I did not know that they were brothers. That's interesting. So there, yes.
It's true. That's where my mind went with Nate, and that's why I was thinking that.
How about what's the Saint edge rusher? Cam Jordan. No one's talking about Cam Jordan.
Yeah.
The Saints are clearly sellers. I would love Cam Jordan, Josh. I don't know the contract at all. I don't know if it's even possible, but I saw his name in one of these top 25 possible targets that ESPN ranked, and I was like, Cam Jordan would be very fun to add to this.
Yeah.
Someone who's never won, it feels like. He's been in the league for a long time, but recently, very hard time winning.
I mean,
I would love to see what the Saints would do for Cam Jordan, but
or Granderson. Anthony
also
brought up
him,
his name too. If you're looking at Saints, right? I mean, there's lots of reasons that they could be looking to offload and save some cap space, or just try to figure anything out because they're in such a terrible situation with the cap as it is. So, I wouldn't hate that.
Nope, I agree.
Pittsburgh, just real quick, last thing back to the super chat. Pittsburgh, another reason it's just not going to happen, it doesn't make any sense, is even if everyone else or a lot of us can look at it and go, yeah, Pittsburgh's not a contender. Like, they're just not going to have enough to get it done. They won't admit that until it is the last week of the season, whether that's in the playoffs or not making the playoffs, because to get Aaron Rodgers and make the moves that they did, when Aaron Rodgers is your quarterback, it is not we're building for the future. It is literally we are all in now. So even if a guy is slightly underused or severely underused, if he's got talent on the roster, Pittsburgh is not selling any of those players.
Great point.
I don't hate it as far as, he had some talent for the Eagles, but I think they're 100% going like,
totally agree.
I don't care. I don't care how bad our defense is. I don't care what the weaknesses, the lack of potential we have. They're holding out hope. Plus, right now they're in first temporarily. How long that remains, who knows?
I agree.
It's the best case scenario for Baltimore. As bad as they've started, they could look at it and go, well, is Pittsburgh legit? No. Are the Bengals legit? Absolutely not. The Browns, everybody knows what they are. So, Baltimore, I'm pretty sure Baltimore had pretty decent odds, like 40%, 45% to still make the playoffs. And for a team that was back when they were 1-5, so It's not very often. You could look at a team and go 1-5, and yet they still have that good of a percentage to make the playoffs. But
I know.
Helps with that type of division. Lar with the 5 says, thank you too. Had to take my wife to a Pat Benatar and Bryan Adams concert. But I brought my ear pods. Oh, let's go. So I can listen to you two. Go Birds. Love the trade.
Okay. There you go. Well,
hanging out.
We appreciate it.
Appreciate that. Yes. Hopefully you're not getting in trouble for this. Hopefully that's allowed. You could be listening to something else, but also partaking and everything. But y'all enjoy. That's great. LeFou with a 2. Did you guys read the Brooks Cabina article? And I'm assuming that is the AJ Brown one that they're referencing.
Yes, of course. Interesting timing there, huh? That was kind of random that they would go ahead and release that right as the trade deadline is approaching. But yeah, I thought it was a very good article. I thought Brooks did a great job, and I thought it gives you a good insight into what AJ Brown is like, aka. Excuse me, I got to sneeze here. AKA, AJ Brown's a human, guys. What a shocker. Absolute shocker. AJ Brown's a human. How about that? I thought it was a good article, though.
I
liked it.
Yeah. And just, I think it's kind of the reminder sometimes of, like you say, it's the human aspect, right? But just to take a step back a little bit. But, there's so many things around the AJ situation and people obviously blowing it way out of proportion with the trade talks and the drama and everything. But there's also the distractions element. Absolutely. It's like, just play. Let's play ball. Let's get out there. Winning is the only thing that matters. Figure this thing out. If something long term, we go a different direction, whatever. But this season, AJ is on the team. He's the best way to help the squad get to the Super Bowl, get the job done. They're not trading him at the deadline or anything like that. That's craziness. Dark Mystery with a 2. A little bit of typos here. I don't know. You veer off, but how's your fantasy? I'm first. Yeah, he's 3 of 5.
Yeah, he said veer off. He's trying to say veer off here, like veering off topic is what he's trying to say here.
Okay.
I am not doing well in fantasy. I am in 4 fantasy leagues, 2 of which are for this channel with you guys. A lot of you guys probably watching. I am 5-3 in one of those. That's my best league. My other leagues, I have 2 wins, and I'm 0-8 in my main league with all of my friends. I'm 0-8. I'm so cooked in that league. It's unbelievable. I have the most points against, which is what happens to me every single year, but I might not win a game, which is nuts. So it's bleak times over. I must not be good at fantasy. I'm just simply not. I'm simply not. My wife's in that league. She's 5-3, 6-2, whatever it is.
Yeah,
Josh's in the league. Josh at least has 2 wins.
But I'm doing okay. I guess it's not
tough
good.
Times. Tough to 0-8 is crazy. Rough. It's crazy, but yeah, not good.
Not too great. There's a couple that I'm doing decent in, and there's a few that I'm not great. I do have you beat in the sense of there is one league that I'm 0-16, and people wonder how that is. So they do your head-to-head and also the top 6 point totals and the bottom 6 point totals, so you can get 2 wins or 2 losses or split it.
Interesting.
0-16. We're setting a record here.
There you go. Yep.
Now, can we get 1 win? I don't know. I had so many injuries. I had Kittle go out for forever. CeeDee Lamb go out. Who was the other one? Jaden Daniels was out for a little. It's just like the whole team fell apart. Yep. So
don't draft Ashton Genty and Brian Thomas Jr. That's my best advice ever. Do not draft good players on bad football teams at all. Really bad.
Such
stupid
a decline.
Idea.
So bad.
Stupid.
It felt like both those would be solid, but there's always surprises every year. But it's like, man, as bad as they have been, I think the surprise is like Jake Ferguson, tight end 1. It's like, where thought he'd be
Javonte Williams, top 5 running back.
Yeah,
crazy stuff.
It's insane. Zayed with a 10. Appreciate that. Says, what do you guys think about Jahad Campbell at edge more consistently? We obviously need help there, and I really like what we've seen from Nakobe since his return, both in the run and in coverage.
Yeah, they're in a rough spot with Jahad Campbell right now, Josh. I mean, geez, what an absolute, rough 3 weeks for Jahad Campbell. We were talking about him being Defensive Player of the Year, or Defensive Rookie of the Year, and our future at linebacker. And Nakobe Dean plays 2 games, and it's like, Jahad's having trouble even getting on the football field right now. I mean, it's rough. And obviously they're moving him around, and he does get some base looks. He does get some nickel looks. I mean, Vic has got everything just churning, but he likes Nakobe Dean a lot. He likes Nakobe Dean a ton, and clearly there's something there. And Jihad is not an edge rusher, and we told people this for months after the NFL draft that he's going to be the inside linebacker, and they basically didn't try him at edge rusher the entire training camp. We would hear, sprinkles of like, oh, he lined up at edge this play, but it was like one play or one drive. They're training him to be an inside linebacker, so he's got a very, very strong uphill battle. It's going to be difficult. I don't know if he's going to give you much at the edge rusher spot the rest of the year, but he's going to give it his best, and I do think he provides you some injury assurance with Nakobe's history. And he's going to need to be on the football field in times because he's still better in coverage. But Dean right now is completely taking that spot back, it feels like. And it's a bummer for Jihad Campbell. But, is Dean going to be here next year? Probably not. And Campbell will take the spot back over.
Yeah, he'll get his chances eventually, like you say. But that is the question. And Nakobe adds the other intangible part to it as well. Yeah, I think you see the physicality, the character of the defense, the swagger they talked about, coming back with Nakobe. So it's only getting better each week, obviously, with his injury and the return. On that same topic, kind of, but in a little bit different light, Tyler with 10 says, wild take, do they include Dean in a trade to open up Campbell's playing time? So there's the alternative of that, saying especially if they want to make a splash for a bigger name edge. Am I the only one who thinks that's not as crazy as it sounds?
It made perfect sense 2 weeks ago, and now you look at how much he's playing in Vic's defense. You wonder what Vic would say if they said, we'll get you Denzel Ward, but you got to give up Nakobe Dean. And it's like, would he do it? Maybe. I mean, he likes Jihad Campbell a lot. We know that. He doesn't hate Jihad Campbell at all.
He's
not
his
like
guy.
Dory Jackson or, whatever. But, yeah, I'd be curious what Vic would say. I'd be very curious what Vic would say if Howie said, we got to give up Nakobe Dean for whoever you want.
Yeah. I mean, I think that'd be a very interesting hypothetical, I guess, to just discuss and talk about. But at the same time, too, you also look at it from there's this is the part that I always love about the trade deadline, because it's you're looking at not only X's and O's, you're looking at scheme fits, which is kind of in the same light, but you're looking at how are the players' productivity current, right? Their current run of form. How are they in the locker room, the intangibles? What does that element bring into it? Because not every fit is good, and we know that certainly. And that goes from a schematic standpoint, but also a personality-wise. And that's probably the biggest one for me. You don't trade Nakobe. Like the message that it's, I don't care what you're trying to shift things around, what you're getting back for. You don't trade Nakobe Dean, because what it says to the defense of one of the leaders, one of the guys who's obviously helped you play better these last couple of games, especially against the run defense. It's like, wait a second. Okay, cool. We added a piece, but like, that's Nakobe. That's our guy. That's the green dot wear from last season. So I do think it's crazy, Tyler. Nothing's impossible around the trade deadline, but I personally would say, yeah, that's maybe as crazy as it sounds. JM with the 5. I was called another crazy. I was called crazy for wanting Coop on the outside. I was told this isn't Madden. This is how we do it. Go Birds.
Yeah,
We'll see.
Vic's press conference from yesterday, where he was asked this exact question, really tells me that he wants him to stay at nickel. And I think the main reason why the NFL used to be that you would line your best receivers out at the X or your best receiver on the other side of the field, and they just ISO against the best cornerback, and you go Darrelle Revis versus Chad Johnson, and you just do it time after time again. Darrelle Revis versus Randy Moss. Now, every single team in the NFL, especially in the NFC, they take their best receiver and put him in the slot. I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Emeka Egbuka, Puka Nacua, CeeDee Lamb, like all people you're going to face. Jackson Smith and Jigba lives in the slot. And I think that's what Vic is looking at down the stretches. He doesn't want to play at, pre-trade today, Perry Nickerson in the slot and have Perry Nickerson against Puka Nacua. Just doesn't want it to happen. Even now with Michael Carter, he probably still doesn't want Michael Carter versus CeeDee Lamb in the slot. He wants Cooper DeJean in the slot. It gives him the best chance to defend whenever Sean McVay or, Marty or Mike Schottenheimer or whatever his name is, the Cowboy coach, are trying to get those one-on-one looks against the Eagles' best cornerback. And if the Eagles' best cornerback's on the outside, you have a much easier ability to shade to that side with a safety versus someone in the slot going this way and that way and doing this and this and that. That's a lot more of a man job, and they like Cooper DeJean to do that. That's not to say Coop couldn't be a great outside cornerback. I think he could. I just think Vic looks at the modern NFL and goes, they're all lining up in the slot. Like what am I going to do? And his only option right now is Cooper DeJean, and it's worked pretty darn well because they've shut down the majority of really good receivers that they faced so far this year.
And then you add in the tackling part of it too, and it's like,
And the
okay,
tackling
he can
part,
come
yes.
down, and he's basically like a linebacker, and if they can play nickel and still stop the run, where they don't always have to play base in obvious rundowns, and it's like, man, you're taking away, everything from the defense, and it's an unfair mismatch because you're like, they're not going to throw out of it. We've got more guys than they have to account for offensively and try to run routes on. It's the best of both worlds. So I kind of agree. But JM, we'll see. You never know. Eventually, maybe Coop ends up being a full-time outside. I don't think so, but he'll play more snaps. He will play
for sure.
Some on the outside
for sure.
Coyote kills. This might be the biggest. This is the biggest one since the draft. Maybe a 200 bomb.
Holy cow!
200.
Jeez!
Wow. Appreciate
one.
that. Thank you. Comment here with the state of the Dolphins. It's no wonder Fangio wasn't a great fit, and I'm grateful to have him and the discipline he brings. Are we jumping on the Patullo train, or do we consider Mike McDaniel should he become available next season? Never trade AJ. Number one is legit, and go Birds.
Okay, well, I like everything he says, obviously, and I totally agree with Vic Fangio and with A.J. Brown. I think Kevin Patullo probably deserves another shot, and I thought about this today all on my own, Josh. I literally said, okay, Kevin Patullo clearly needed time. He clearly had like a preseason the first 6 weeks of the year, trying to get his feet underneath him, trying to figure out how to call plays. What if his entire 2025 season goes like this, and he finishes at the top, whereas the Eagle offense looks really good and they, march in the playoffs and whatever?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think a team is going to offer Kevin Patullo a job like Kellen Moore, because Kellen Moore had multiple offensive coordinator places. He proved it multiple, areas, and he had multiple seasons. Kevin Patullo has a real chance to be the first back-to-back offensive coordinator Phillies had since Shane Steichen. And the jump from year one Shane Steichen to year two Shane Steichen was unbelievable. And Jalen Hurts says every single press conference how hard it is to have a new offensive coordinator. He basically admits it. So I was thinking about this with Ken Patullo, is the fact that you could have him 2 straight years is something that we have not had the luxury of. And as long as he does this the rest of the way, I'm all for KP coming back. If they struggle and it gets back to what we saw the first 5 weeks of the season, then yes, I think you would look at Mike McDaniel, you look at somebody else, who, whatever. But I think we're forgetting, never called plays in the NFL is not easy. And being the offensive coordinator of this offense is not easy. Yeah. But being able to have you for back-to-back seasons, big deal. That's a really big deal that people seem to forget.
Yep. And this thing is building, right? So I'm with you. If it continues to trend upward and we keep that, it will be funny and it'll be hilarious because you go back and forth, especially the heat of the moment. You go to emotions during a game, right? Mm-hmm. Like we're all guilty of a certain stature of like, oh, this is the worst ever, and then it comes back, hey, it's so great, it's such a smart call, love the everything there. But over the long haul, if the Eagles can keep this up and continue to play like they did this past Sunday, then it's like, yeah, all bets are off. You just keep on progressing. You have the playmakers, like you said there. Then you also have the consistency, and then you build off of that for the upcoming season, or maybe 2 seasons, 3. Who knows how long KP maybe is here? Which it sounds even just crazy, ridiculous, outlandish to even say that, thinking what the vibes were week 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Because of but recency bias, and he has continued to show slow improvement and different nuances of the offense. So absolutely, yes, to Coyote, your comment there, like I don't expect everyone quite yet to just be like, oh, I'm all aboard the KP train, right? Like you need to keep seeing this, but if it does continue, absolutely. Like I don't see how everyone is not on the KP train, because you got your answers there. You don't need a Mike McDaniel, because how do you go to the Super Bowl? And if the offense, we're assuming, has been clicking all the way to get there and win the Super Bowl, then there's no doubt in anybody's mind. We'll absolutely take you back as an offensive coordinator. And then you just keep building with the offense. You see the other moves. Maybe you have some differences of weapons or other things they do throughout the offseason. But ultimately, the core of this team, the core of this offense, they're locked up for the future, and they've got everything taken care of. So I agree. Like that, Thomas, that could be. Like I want to I don't want to
be
get carried away because it's like, okay,
Yep.
yes, we do need to see it consistent. But if it did happen, I mean, that's absolutely the best case scenario because to your point, we haven't seen it since Steichen. And, what a breath of fresh air it would for sure be for Jalen. Him asking and being willing to get under center. Like, you got to kudos and props to Jalen because he just keeps proving people wrong. It's no matter what his weakness is. He's like, oh, okay, people think that's my weakness, whatever. All right, well, we'll go under center. Like, we'll show them we can do it. They say that I can't, but we'll show them. It's like there's nothing off the table for what Jalen is willing to try. And that combined with, oh, hey, now there's some familiarity. Now I understand some more of like what KP's thinking, where we're going to go here with the play call. You get the back and forth. You see it all the time on other offenses. And yes, we do question and ask, like, why is it so difficult? Why can't the Eagles be that? That's the hope that does eventually turn out happening. But, we'll see. They'll certainly keep their option. They'll never have a shortage of coaches that want to be the OC or want to be close to this Eagles offense because it's a very quick way to jumpstart your career. But, yeah, if KP gets the job done, then obviously it's his.
100%.
Appreciate the super chat. Again, Coyote, that's like I say, big time. I think it's the biggest super chat we've had since the draft. Paco with a 2. Not even the Jets, Thomas? Damn, LOL. What was that comment to?
That's about my 0-18 because the Jets have actually won a game.
Yes,
My fantasy team. Yeah, I know. I saw that comment earlier.
Going back to that one. Okay.
I saw it. Yeah.
I was trying to think of which one that was. Man, letting you hear it. Kelly with a 5. This just makes letting Isaiah Rodgers go even worse, cheaper, better, and fits the starters better. What do you think?
Yep. Well, how many more times are we going to talk about Isaiah Rodgers and that it was a mistake? I mean, how many more times? He should have
go ahead and talk about CJGJ while we're just
in that
repetitive comments here.
I had my Bear buddy text me, what are we getting with CJ Gardner-Johnson? I was like,
a headache.
Let's see how long he can stay on your roster, right? He's going to play nickel for them too, which is interesting. So, but yeah, I'm kind of tired of Isaiah Rodgers because I want him so bad and we can't have him. And I don't want to talk about something that I can't have. It's like when we talk about getting a Porsche 911 for the next, year and a half of my life. I can't get a Porsche 911. So why even talk about it?
But, it doesn't hurt to dream, I suppose.
Sure.
But you're right. Yeah, it's unfortunate. Zay would be so great. There's both sides of that story, which we've talked about so many different times. It sounds like the Eagles kind of wanted him, tried to make an offer. Who knows how much it was. Zay made his decision. I think reading between the lines from what we've heard, read, little speculation there, obviously, but I think the Eagles made it clear that Keely Ringo was their priority, their preference to be the guy, and probably let Zay know that. So I can't blame him. Even if the offer was the exact same, I can't blame him to say, okay, cool, well, I'll go to an area that I can start and get playing time and get paid for it. So, Abram with a 2. Off topic, but who are y'all rooting for? Oh, in the World Series. Let's freaking go LA.
Gosh, yeah, I don't really care, honestly. I mean, I think Shohei Ohtani is really fun. I think he's really good for the game of baseball, but I
if I had to say, I'd just probably the underdog, so I'd go with the Jays.
Yeah,
but
I think so, but
I'm not really.
It's not looking good. So yeah.
Zach with a 5. How much do you think they're going to use Big BG? Do you think they're going to limit his playing time to keep him healthy or keep them healthy for the whole year?
For sure. Yeah, he'll play 15 snaps max against the Packers, even with the extra week. It's going to be very light versus Green Bay. You'll see him get in there a couple of times, and that'll be it. And they'll just ramp him up, see how much his body can actually handle. That's the big. It's the big question. What can his body handle? We really don't know. The guy's not played football since November of last year. Truly, I mean, you really can't count the Super Bowl because he got hurt again, didn't play much. So, just work him up slowly, see what happens.
Yeah, no need to throw him out there like way too much and risk injury or anything like that. So. Slowly but surely. Gonzalo with a 5. AJ a 2nd and a 3rd to Cleveland for Garrett and Ward. Oh, just kidding. By the way, I know that's a pipe dream. Okay, so just that up to say.
I don't think
just kidding.
The Browns would do that, but yeah, no. I would. Denzel Ward is one of those players where you're like, just trade him, Cleveland. Like what are you doing? Just trade him.
Yeah.
Same for Trey Hendrickson. I think Trey Hendrickson is the same thing. It's like just trade him. I mean, come on. Stop kidding yourself that the Bengals are going to do anything. You think the Bengals are going to go to the playoffs and beat the Bills or the Chiefs, the Broncos? No, the answer is no. Just trade him. You're going to lose him anyway. That's the thing with Trey Hendrickson. Denzel Ward, they obviously have under contract, but I would love Denzel Ward. I'm very confident Howie made a phone call. It's just like, what did Andrew Berry say when he answered the phone? No, gung,
I don't
So
know.
yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. I'm with
Try
you
to
on
hang
that.
on to him for some reason. They
I
don't
know.
have
I know.
anything going really. But Tony with the 10, has there been any updates on Asante Samuel Jr.'s health? He sees the doc
Nope.
soon, I think. I would love for Philly to sign him to the CB2 spot. As always, thanks for the great content, you guys. Appreciate it.
I thought that he was going to be cleared in October, and October is come and gone. So
Yeah,
there's been no update. There
that
has
was
been
the
no
initial
update.
date for the spinal spinal fusion CT scan or something like that he was going to be getting to check it. So I don't know. You assume it's fairly like maybe it's the trade deadline hoopla and all that, and then like afterward to get a follow up and some other insight. But yeah, nothing so far. I don't mind it, but again, it's kind of the same type of like you bring him in for a depth addition because who knows where he's at. He's coming off an injury. Cool. Even if you say he's healthy, like he's got to get into the defense. He's got to get acclimated. He's got to learn the defense. He's got to get up to game shape, even if he's in good, healthy shape. He's got to get game shape wise. And then after all that, you still have the question like, okay, can he play? Can he be locked down? Or is it just the same case that we've had with all the other guys that we try at CB2 and or slot, right? I mean, just play him wherever you feel like. It's I guess a potential backup plan, but it feels like you're kind of same spot that you would be for a lot of the other moves.
Totally agree.
Let's see. Pancho Frito with a 2 says, first donation to Tom's Porsche 911 911 fund. There you go.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that greatly. Yeah, only like, I don't know, 100,000 more, and then we could do it. So 99,999 left.
We're
then
very
we get
close.
A 911. So I appreciate
it feels
that.
like
we're almost there.
Building momentum to this thing. Caleb with a 2. I think this is 2 more here, and maybe not intentionally for the fun, but says, will people give Hurts credit for his performance?
When will people?
Will they or when will they? Yeah.
Never. When will they? When will they? Never. Probably not. Whatever.
It's the same old conversation. If the Eagles do well, it's not Jalen. If they do bad, it is Jalen. So
I actually had lunch with an ex-NFL player today, an ex-NFL wide receiver, which is very random, but it was fun to talk to him. And he was of the opinion that I don't know if I should say his name or not.
Can you share?
It's not like a secret or anything. It wasn't about the channel or anything. I'm
just curious. If you can't, it's fine.
I'll just text it. I don't know. I don't need to talk. It was a private conversation, but he was talking about, he was throwing a little shade at Jalen Hurts, and I was kind of like, okay, yeah, because I think his argument was like, the Eagles would love Joe Burrow. It's like, okay, yeah. I mean, sure. I mean, I think you make that argument. I think the Eagles would like Josh Allen. I mean, talk about the top cornerbacks in the league or quarterbacks in the league, but it's like, I said to him, like, yeah, but Jalen's winning. Like, he just wins. Like, he just wins a lot of games. And the stats are comparable right now with Josh Allen. You could argue that they're better. And then he went to the tush push, and it's like, he's only scored 2 touchdowns on the tush push this year, so that argument kind of doesn't work. And it's like, people just don't like him. They just don't like him. And I do think at the heart of all the arguments is because the Eagles are loaded, and people think it should be 55-0 every single game, which is not how the NFL works, right? I mean, the Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes, who's supposed to be 10x Jalen Hurts in the minds of the national media, and yet they lose plenty of games, especially to Jalen Hurts. It's interesting how that works. But yeah, it's just interesting. I mean, I don't think he's ever going to get his credit. But as an Eagle fan, I just kind of it's like, okay, like it's okay. You can have your opinion on Jalen Hurts, but we're just going to keep winning. And
that's all he does.
He's getting better for sure, which is crazy. So yeah, whatever you want to
do. He does. He keeps getting better. He's getting was said that he would not be able to beat the blitz. Now he's a cheat code against the blitz. It's insane, his numbers there. He's able to throw from the pocket. People saying like, oh, he's not going to be able to win that way. You're not going to be able to win with Jalen throwing the football. We've seen 1 Super Bowl, basically 2, but that is defense and the field and everything else. But still the best player on the field. Throwing over the middle, would never, ever do that. He's going to keep it on the outside. Now you're seeing that under center. Is he going to play action under center? That's not possible. He's not every single time. It's just, yeah, I'm totally with you. Like there's people that are against Jalen Hurts for whatever reason. It doesn't look how they want it to look. That's kind of the MO that I get, and that's what Jalen has said many times, right? Is it's going to look how Jalen Hurts wants it to look, which may not be how others want it to look. But at the end of the day, like the Eagles win. Sorry, they beat all these quarterbacks, and I love his stats head-to-head against the top upper echelon quarterbacks. Everyone's guys at the top of the list. Somehow, some reason, Jalen Hurts wins, and by the way, in those games, it seems to bring out the best in Jalen Hurts. So go.
Sure does.
JM, a couple other super chats before we wrap up here. JM with a 2 says Tank should get more snaps to keep Barkley fresh.
Yep.
Sure, absolutely. Do not mind that. Especially the way that he ran this last game. Dirty D, Dan, what's up, man? Says,
there he is.
With a 2 says, "What's up, boys? Howie season is here."
It started today. I don't know if it's the big one that we all wanted, but Dan, it did start. So hope you're doing well, by the way. Hope you are having a good time.
Heck yeah. Cold Cash with a 5 also saying, yeah, don't say his name as far as the wide receiver that you ate with, because he said, go Birds, he's bugging. So after the takes
nice
there
guy.
and everything.
No, it was a very, very, it was a fun lunch. But yeah, it wasn't about this channel, but we did talk about the channel. So I'll leave it at that.
Yes, that's fair. Carter with a 5. Am I alone in thinking Howie needs to make moves towards strengthening an aging and sort of struggling O-line? Vic will take care of the defense.
I think you're alone in terms of making a move at the trade deadline. I think first or second round this coming draft, they're trading an offensive lineman for sure. And it's more of a lane, because like Steen was kind of the lane guy, and then it was like, oh, he's not going to be the lane guy. And then they got Becton. It's like, okay, they're going to get a tackle. I feel very strongly that they will get a tackle, because Dickerson, Juergens, and Steen are all very young. Mailata also is very young. They do need to have a plan for Lane Johnson. If they win the Super Bowl, then Lane Johnson has said he's going to retire. So I agree. They will spend early draft capital. There isn't a trade right now that makes sense, unless there's some backup offensive lineman that Jeff Stoutland thinks is like the second coming of Mekhi Becton, which that's his prerogative, but I don't see it right now.
Yeah, it's I agree with you. Not for the deadline, but certainly draft wise, because it's been 2 drafts in a row, I guess, that Howie's not selected anyone in the trenches for the first couple rounds, which doesn't typically happen. So it'll probably take place. Zach with a 2. I think this is the last one here before we wrap up. Says Jalen Hurts MVP with a question mark. He's, I think, 10th, if I'm not mistaken, on the most updated or recent odds.
I saw 11th, but he might have come up one more
somewhere in that category. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not it's an enticing bet. I'll just say that he's not. The odds are nice because of the payout, but for all the reasons we were talking about a second ago, he doesn't get the credit.
No,
for
they would never do it.
Because it's Jalen Hurts. Honestly, Thomas, the other thing that I would say to that is talking about the MVP. All this talk, all the and I give a whole lot of credit. Sure, Jonathan Taylor's playing phenomenal. The Colts are great. But Jonathan Taylor is maybe he ends up having the season that Saquon did last year, but he's not having the season so far, even pace-wise, for what Saquon did last season. And yet, it's like, oh, easy, MVP, Jonathan Taylor, get this.
Yeah.
If Saquon didn't win the MVP award last year, I'm like, I'm sorry, man. He offensive player of the year, sure, like he could win that, but not MVP.
Yes.
It's been proven. It's like it's a quarterback award. It's going to go to a quarterback.
Western Trejo just said it's a popularity contest, and that's exactly right. And Jalen Hurts, as we know as Eagle fans, is not very popular. So, outside of Philadelphia.
Is fair. Yep. Okay, last one here. The 10. Poncho, appreciate that. In all seriousness, though, if Carter is a depth move, do we think Howie is now content at defensive back and making a bigger move for a bigger name edge, or is a good edge plus like Ward off the table now?
I would say a good edge is still on the table. I think corner is a little less likely, just because I think that they would pick an edge over a corner. Like, are they just going to get Michael Carter and then another corner and not get an edge? I think they would go Michael Carter to give them the depth at corner that they are looking for, and then go get an edge. That would be my guess. But I don't know. Maybe both. I mean, Reek Woolen for a 4th. Who would say no? I'd be fine with that. Plus Bradley Chubb for like a 3rd. But they have 3 third-round draft picks next year, whatever the number is. So spend away. I have given Howie Roseman. I personally called him and told him, green light. Like, go and get him.
Go for it, man.
Go for it. But he didn't take
my
call.
Got plenty of ammunition.
Yeah.
Try to get that to Big Dom. Let Dom relay the message. We could do that. I think said this multiple times. I'm kind of sticking to it. As far as the biggest move for an edge that I think is still realistic is probably Jalen Phillips. Maybe Chubb. I still feel like it's personally for me Phillips over Chubb of the realistic scenario. I'm not saying that's the preference there, but just realistic scenario.
Yeah.
But I think edge is still in play, but to the point of corner, it doesn't feel like defensive back is as likely of a move. But we never know. You know, Howie's going to keep making the calls. So that's the one thing we can guarantee ourselves of is he's not going to stop making the calls, being on the phones. If there's a possibility to get a bigger player, a bigger name player, he's going to see what the asking price is. But yeah, I mean, this move is kind of like that depth piece. So we'll take it. As always, keep you guys posted. Any other moves? Thomas will be going live for a little bit, right? Because you said still has some time. I'm going to be out starting tomorrow for a little vacation. So either way, depending timing-wise, there should be an avenue to still get some updates and everything like that. But there will also probably be a little bit of a lull next week for obvious reasons that has been shared. So
I'm gonna have a pretty big lull. I've tried to tell myself I'm gonna do shows next week. You know, maybe not Monday or Tuesday, but I think the reality is I'm probably not going to do a lot of shows next week. So,
which is
just bear with me.
Which
Let's
is
just say that.
Understandable also. And again, big kudos, big congratulations.
Sure.
Obviously, you guys do this already, but show Thomas some support. Come on. First time dad,
we
girl dad, big time. Let's go.
We're ready. I appreciate it.
There you go. Appreciate you guys also, as always. More, as always, but the giveaways and everything else. So more info to come. We'll see you till next time. Go Birds.
Go Birds.